right, good afternoon, early evening, everybody. It's Nicky Stees here, and I'm here to talk some 76ers basketball. And as you can tell by the title, you know what I'm going to talk about. Just getting to it today, and that is the news that Nick Nurse has now been hired as the new head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. That is right, folks. We went from a doc to a nurse. I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the offseason game plan of what we should do going forward, who we should try to maybe make a trade for, who needs to go, who we could try to get in free agency. So I will discuss that. But first, we're going to get through the Nick Nurse first. And if you're on the YouTube side of it, there's a poll right there on the YouTube side of it asking if you think he's a good hire. Simple question, yes or no. Yes or no. You can vote on that poll question right there. Now let's get into it. All right, so Nick Nurse is now the head coach of the Philadelphia 76er, former Toronto Raptor coach, won the NBA championship in 2019 as the Raptors coach with that roster right there. That roster right there consists of Kawhi, Young Van Fleet, Kyle Lowry. So you have Marc Gasol was there also, Pascal Siakam. And Kawhi Leonard obviously was the superstar of that team, but Nick Nurse led that team to a championship. If we look at Nick Nurse's history as a coach, let me go through that real quickly. Because Nick Nurse, let's take a look. So Nick Nurse throughout his career, he's won 2 championships in the BBL, the Britain Basketball League, with 2 different teams, mind you. Now, granted, that's in Europe, but hey, it still counts as championship wins for Nick Nurse. And he did it with 2 different teams, which helped pave the way for him to get opportunities in North America. Then Nurse, he won a G League championship with the Raptors G League team. He was assistant coach under Dwayne Casey. Then eventually when Casey got let go after 2018, Nurse got promoted to head coach. In his first year there, they got over the hump. So Nick Nurse, he has a history of winning championships everywhere he goes thus far at different levels. Over in Europe in the British League. And remember now, we're in the time period now where European basketball has reached North America now. Okay, we have more European players now and stronger European talent. And what I mean by that is we have more good players and potential all-stars that are coming out of Europe than we did in previous years. Obviously, we have always had stars come from Europe, guys like Dirk, Manu, but it seems like there's more of them now than there has been any time. So don't underestimate winning 2 championships overseas as a basketball coach. Then a G League championship. It's the G League, but then he got bumped up to the NBA and won an NBA championship. So Nick Nurse definitely has a pedigree and a history of winning championships. And for the longest time, I was always leaning towards Sam Cassell. I started that last year. But remember, last year, we weren't thinking about the possibility that we would go and get Nick Nurse. That was not in consideration last year. But then 1 year later, when Doc Rivers actually was fired after a terrible playoff choke job again, this time around, when it came time to actually look for a head coach, Nick Nurse was available, and we got him. Also, Monty Williams was available too. That's another road we could have went, but we went the Nick Nurse route. I mean, we're starting to hear some rumors. Talk about it was warming up that we were going to get him, and we got him. Now, with Nurse, one of the biggest things with him is he actually will make adjustments, unlike Doc Rivers. Because Doc Rivers, even as Rasheed Wallace indicated in an interview, during that one season he spent in Boston, ring chasing, pointed out Doc Rivers does not make adjustments. He mainly relies on the players to make those adjustments. And we saw it without his tenure with the Sixers, with them making terrible adjustments. Not calling timeouts at the right time. Sitting down players for extensive periods of time, keeping players that were performing poorly or getting cold in for too long without giving them a few minutes to rest and regroup themselves, So, Doc Rivers, though, we know he couldn't adjust. But he's gone now and Nick Nurse is in. He'll actually make adjustments. And we know he actually likes to hold players accountable, too. He'll call out players in front of the team after poor performances. He's not afraid to do that, which is something that, some fans like in him. And considering the Philadelphia fan base. You know how we are as Philly fans, especially a lot of us can get real nitpicky, sometimes overly critical of players and coaches. Considering we do that, I think that Nick Nurse's style of calling out players not be afraid to speak up fits the Philly environment well. Because, you know, fans like to talk a lot. They like to critique, and Nick Nurse is like that too. So I think he's definitely going to be a popular fit with the fan base here. So that's one of the reasons I think the Sixers lean toward him, and plus his championship pedigree. But yeah, I think he is a good fit with the city's fan base mentality. So overall, yeah, because now that I actually look closer at it, I do think Nick Nurse is a good candidate. Now I've had some time to look at his history and realize that, hey, he's done well everywhere he's gone thus far. So far, we got Chad coming in here. Chad, thanks for stopping by. It's been a long time. Glad you could come by. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday evening. And Nick Nurse, right now that I look at it, I realize he does have a track record of winning everywhere he goes and adjusting everywhere he goes. He was able to take what he did in Europe, bring it over to the G League, and then bring it up to the NBA level. And that's good right there. Now, sure, Nick Nurse, obviously the run with Toronto didn't end well, but you got to remember something too. Toronto was dealing with injuries, and they didn't have a whole lot of bench pieces as well. So that partially falls on the talent as well. Now, I think personally, if you put Doc Rivers with that Toronto Raptors team last season, I think they would have been right up there in the top of the draft lottery, possibly. I mean, that's my opinion right there. With all those with the injuries to some of their star players they had, the lack of depth on the bench, I think if you give Doc Rivers that Raptors roster, he would have done worse off. Yeah, so the point is, I can't solely blame what happened in the final year with the Raptors on Nick Nurse. But that does get me into the main thing I want to talk about. And just as I'm saying it, Next Shift Frenzy, Raptors fan, comes in and points it out. Not a lot of pieces on the bench, falls on the GM. Yep, and as I was saying, yep, that's right. And I pointed that, yep, and that ties me to the next point with the Sixers. Their roster, they don't exactly have a strong bench either. So that's also a factor we got to consider. And we got to consider that factor too, though, is we do need an upgrade on the bench right there. And I saw, all I'm going to do is I'm going to start. I saw on Instagram. Now, I don't post on Instagram, but I do kind of look around at different sports pages to see what they're posting. And I saw something that was interesting, an off-season game plan proposal from the Sixers. I made a short of it, but it was only a short video, about a minute long. So now that I'm here, I'm going to share the screen with you guys. So here was the proposed off-season game plan. Step one was to hire Nick Nurse. Now, this was posted, if you look here, on May 20th. So this was 10 days ago before the hire. And so far, step one has come true. Now, here's some interesting proposals right here that I saw. You guys can let me know what you think. And the reason I want to share this is because I think this proposal helps out add more depth for the Sixers and clear out some of the contracts, get rid of some, get some better depth. Now, I don't agree with every single thing on here, but let's go over it. So this mock trade right here gets Tobias, gets that contract off our back, which is good. Because for Tobias Harris, that's too much. $39.2 million for a guy who plays at best as a role player, plays good some nights, other nights is a non-factor. I don't want that contract there. So I would trade him, and this proposal sends him to the Pacers, sends Jaden Springer to the Pacers, which I kind of get it because it's kind of hard to find room for him. And here you got it's going to the Sixers in this proposed three-way mock trade. Buddy Hield, which I would like to get Buddy Hield on the Sixers roster if we could pull it off. And then you get Rudy Gay, who's only $6.4 million. But wait for the next part of the proposal. You got Kelly Olynyk, if I'm pronouncing that right. And then a 2023 first rounder from the Pacers. And then it's in Daniel Theis, Jordan Nwori, and 2 Philly seconds to the Utah Jazz. Now, I like the idea of getting Buddy Hield on the roster. I think he would definitely help, especially as a younger piece right there. He would fit in. He would fit in well with the guys like Tyrese Maxey, DeAnthony Melton, and some of those guys. So that would help right there to add a younger piece right there. And then the next part is another idea I like this idea: trade Montrez and get him out of there just for cash, free up some cap space. And Daniel House too. I like the idea of doing that, get some cap space. And then it suggested trading Rudy Gay to the Rockets for cash and waiving Korkmaz. The first and the third in this screen right here, I'm definitely on board with. I mean, you could as far as the trading Montrez and Daniel House for cash, trade them anywhere where we can get some cash cleared up. I don't care where it is. I don't care where you trade those guys to. If you can clear up some cash space there, then do it. I don't care if it's the Rockets, the Spurs. I don't care, the Thunder. I mean, I'm not saying that those are going to happen, but I'm just saying anywhere you go, the Pistons, anywhere you can trade them just for cash, take it. And waive Korkmaz, because really, what has Korkmaz done for us Sixers fans? What has he done? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, now trading Rudy Gay to the Rockets for cash, that's a little bit of an odd one because you're getting Rudy Gay. If you're bringing Rudy Gay in, you'd be bringing him to the team to be a veteran role player as a bench guy, and he would be cheap, so you wouldn't have to pay him a whole lot of money. It's not like the PJ Tucker contract, which is bad. So I don't understand, but I get it. Now, free agents, re-sign Paul Reed. I like that right there. It took long enough for him to finally play, but we definitely need a backup center. I like that idea. Now, Fred VanVleet. I don't know if Ramsey's still here for this, but Fred VanVleet was proposed too. Now, personally, I would like to have Fred VanVleet. I mean, if you can I'd definitely rather have him than PJ and Tobias. Now, I don't know if we're actually going to get VanVleet. I don't know if this can actually happen, but I would like for that to happen, though. But then again, might not. No, I do like the idea of Paul Reed. And then here's some veteran guys that you could maybe sign to be bench pieces. Got TJ Warren, maybe Steven Adams. I mean, you could do that too. And over here it suggested that maybe if we get that 29th pick, the one from the Pacers, we could get Colby Jones. And I wouldn't mind. And then it suggested let James Harden walk, which, well, that's still in my mind. Get to the James Harden one out the way because I know that's going to come up. With Harden, you might as well just let him walk because, as indicated, we talked about it on Pick and Roll. He wants at least $201 million for a guy who's getting closer to his mid-30s, who we know what James Harden is as a player. He's a good regular season offensive player, but when it matters most in the playoffs, he doesn't deliver. In the 7-game series against Boston, he had 2 good games, but the other 5 games, yeah, and obviously, but the thing is, and with Harden, the only way Harden realistically could be on this team, which is not going to happen, is he'd have to be willing to take a pay cut and play as a role player. But Harden's not going to do that because he knows he can get more money. He knows whether it be the Sixers or maybe going back to the Rockets or another team that's willing to pay him, he knows he can get some money from them. So he's not going to accept that role as a role player. So even though I think that's the only way Harden would fit in a potential championship roster, realistically it's not going to happen. So you got to let Harden walk. Now back to possible free agents. Now right here you got Steven Adams. Like I said, you got TJ Warren as a bench piece. I would like him as a bench piece. Now, we don't know if it's going to happen, but I would like to have it because TJ Warren, he's a guy, when healthy, can play good. And I think as a bench guy, that would work out well because with limited minutes, there's less possibility of him getting hurt, which I think would be cool. but we still would have to get him first. Now, I also another one. Now, I like this one. Signing Lonnie Walker. That's one I'm on board with right here. And then, of course, you got extending D'Anthony Melton, Tyrese Maxey. So I like most of this proposal right here. Take a look. Let's read the new starting proposal lineup: Van Fleet, Maxey, Buddy Hield, PJ, Embiid. Minus PJ, I would like it if it were to happen. Then some bench pieces: D'Anthony Melton, Lonnie Walker. You got Paul Reed. Who is that? Jaden McDaniels and what's his face again? Who is that? I can't remember. Who was it from off the top of my head? I can't remember off the top. That's all right. Colby. Yeah. Who is it off the? Can't remember off the top of my head. But all right. Let's just look at. So here it is, right here. Starters: Van Fleet, Maxey, Hield, Tucker, Embiid. I like that minus Tucker. Yeah, D'Anthony, Kendrick Nunn, Colby Jones, Lonnie Walker, TJ Warren, Dario Saric, Jalen McDaniels, Kelly Olynyk, Paul Reed, Thomas Bryant. Now, I like that right there. I think that's a good proposal right there. Now, realistically, do I see it happening? Well, we already got Nick Nurse as our head coach. We already got that. So the first part came true. Now, realistically, because some of it could happen, some of them might come to happen. We might get a few of them pulled off, but is all of it going to happen? No, it's not. Absolutely not. I mean, maybe a few pieces might happen. Maybe, maybe we get Van Fleet, maybe we get TJ Warren as a bench piece. Probably let some of those bench guys walk. Like Korkmaz. Maybe we do pull off a trade for Tobias. Maybe we get him for Buddy Hield. I don't know. Maybe we trade him to another team possibly that's looking for some depth, willing to take on the contract. Maybe the Pistons would take it, but what the hell could we get in return for it from the Pistons? So I don't like that idea right there. I don't think we should go in. I think you got to go. I think if you're going to go trade him, try to get him for someone like a Buddy Hield or at least something. Maybe even try to get a Rudy Gay as a backup center. So I like some of these ideas right there. TJ Warren, I like that as a bench guy. So the main ones I'm interested in the most is I would definitely like to have Buddy Hield, especially being a younger guy who can fit in with the system, can give some help to the starters. Having Tyrese Maxey back, extending him, I'm on board with that. Of course, you have Embiid there. Van Fleet, if we can get him, I would like it. And, PJ, I would like to trade PJ Tucker because at this point, what is he really doing for us at this point, honestly? If you're a fan of Sixers or if you even followed the NBA, you saw PJ Tucker didn't do much. He was most effective for rebounds and corner threes. Even those corner threes don't work out a whole lot because once PJ Tucker goes in the corner, the defense starts to zone in and get ready to defend that corner three because they know that's what's coming. So it makes it a lot more predictable and easy to stop. And plus, PJ Tucker's, he's 37, is he going to be 38 this year? Yeah, but the point is he's in his late 30s either way. So I definitely don't want him there. So I do like some of these proposed pieces, but I also decided to look at the list of NBA free agents, and I'll share that screen with you too. That way we can get some different ideas right there. Like the trade proposal, I like that one right there. So that's why I wanted to share it. But we're also going to take a look at the free agent list to get some other ideas. Like you got Russ's on here. I personally say no. I don't really think we need him. Harden, like I said, I think he should walk. Porzingis, I'd rather have Porzingis than PJ Tucker. But I don't know what we could get him for. Chris Middleton, I don't see that happening, though. I just don't see Chris Middleton coming to the Sixers. I think that's unrealistic. Kyrie, no, because he's too much of a distraction. He's too much of an egomaniac at this point. I'm sorry, but he is. incredible talent, but just what's the way to put? He just has him. He's just stuck in his own way, and he's very egotistical sense of himself. Egotistical person. He treats his status as entitlement, if so to say, because he's a big star. He likes to use that to make whatever decisions he likes to. Doesn't always make what's in the best interest for his team, and sometimes not even his own best interest. I don't want anything to do with Kyrie at this point. It's the point I'm getting at. Porzingis, I would like to have him, but I would like to get him. I'd rather have him than PJ Tucker, but the key question is with PJ Tucker, what would we get rid of him for? Because difference is Porzingis we could sign in for agency, but who would we trade PJ Tucker to? Realistically, I just find it hard to believe that we're going to get anything good out of it. Because I don't think any teams are really going to want to take him at this point. Honestly, if anyone in the chat can think of anything realistic that we could do for PJ Tucker, I'll be glad to read it in the comments if you can even think of any. If you can't, I'm not offended at all. I understand. Because what are you realistically going to get? But yeah, I would like Porzingis, but I don't see it. D'Angelo Russell, I think he's going to stay with the Lakers. I don't see it. Vucevic, I don't think we need him as a center. No. I think we could just re-sign Paul Reed. I think we'd be better off. We're getting a younger backup center. Derrick Rose, I'm sorry, but he's damaged goods. Now, if this would have been like 2018 and we brought in D Rose as a role player, then I would have been on board for it. But in 2023, I'm sorry. He's just, sorry injuries caught up to you and ruined your career to a degree, but I just think I just don't think he's the right piece at this point. And Caris LeVert, I don't see that happening. Nah, he's probably going to stay in Cleveland. Gary Trent Jr., that's unrealistic. Christian Wood, it's unrealistic, and we don't need a center. Josh Richardson, please, been there, done that. We don't need to do that again. Right now, I don't see a whole lot of options that I think are realistic. Although here's one unlikely, but maybe I'd consider it. Maybe bringing back Seth Curry. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I would at least be open to it if it were to happen. Again, I would like to have it, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen. And Kendrick Nunn sounds good on paper, but I don't know what we get from Rui Hachimura. I don't know. I think he might stay. As I look at the rest of the list, I don't see a lot of names that realistically come to mind. Andre Iguodala is 39. At this point, he might just retire before he gets signed. So, like I said, TJ Warren was in the original proposal. I like that idea. You do have some other names. DeAndre Jordan, no. Taj Gibson, no. Wesley Matthews, no. We don't need it. So, yeah, I looked at the list there. I did see a couple more names that came to mind there. Kristaps Porzingis, I'd like to have him, but I don't see that realistically happening. Although Seth Curry, that's one we maybe could get, but you could maybe bring him back, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I have my doubts. I would like it to happen, but I have my doubts. I think realistically, out of everything that I just saw there, realistically, it could probably happen. Maybe Lonnie Walker could be a realistic option. Maybe Buddy Hield in a trade with the Pacers and Tobias. Maybe a three-way trade even as proposed. That might happen, might not, but yeah, definitely. We got to get younger for sure. We got to cut some of these guys that aren't helping us. Get that Tobias Harris contract out the way. I also think we got to get rid of PJ, but the Tobias contract, most importantly, is hurting us with the cap space. So I think, the point I'm getting at is we got to find a way to get younger. Whether we get some of the players that are proposed here, that I proposed, on the IG post that I proposed. Whether maybe we fall off a steal in the draft, something. But we got to start getting younger, and we got to help with the roster. And the reason I'm putting more emphasis on the roster in this one is because if we build up a better roster, we have a better shot at succeeding with Nick Nurse as our coach, because Nurse was the coach in Toronto last year, and you saw without a strong roster where it went. So, yeah, I don't think that's going to work it. So I think definitely we got to work on the roster too in order for us to succeed with Nick Nurse, because we're putting him in the same position he was in. We're putting him in maybe a position that's a little bit better than he was his final year in Toronto, but not that much better. So, yeah, we got to work on the roster right there. I think that's part of the game plan. Clear some of these bad contracts, get some of these terrible bench players out the way, get guys like Paul Reed back, get rid of guys like Montrezl Harrell, Korkmaz, Niang, get them out of here. Try to look to see if you can find some guys on the market like Van Fleet. Maybe try to see if you can trade Tobias for a Buddy Hield or Rudy Gay or something. Or I prefer, maybe it's, someone younger. Maybe try to see if you can get some decent bench pieces. Maybe TJ Warren, maybe Steven Adams, maybe. Try to get Seth Curry back if we could do it. But I really would like to try to get Lonnie Walker in. That's one I would like to have if we could do it. But yeah, I think definitely we got to start getting younger as a team and improve as a bench first. So yeah, but hey, I'm going to close it off with this. Nick Nurse, welcome to Philadelphia. Please do us better than Doc Rivers. And please at least get us to the conference finals. I will be happy if you can at least do that. Right there. And front office, fix the roster, would you? And as of right now, I'm going to end the poll. I see you got 4 votes on the poll. 3-1 saying, yes, this was a good hire. And as I indicated at the beginning, I figured this would be a popular hire with Philadelphia fan base, and based off the poll, it is. But yeah, to everyone that tuned in, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. If you haven't done so already and you're still tuned in, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, or if you're catching this on the replay, feel free to leave a comment in the chat. Most of all, enjoy the rest of your night or day. And until next time, Nicky Stees signing off.